Hey, what up, guys? This is Darkrai 800 back again with part 3 of What If Deku Was Darkrai. And Marla and I am making in part 2 of What If Deku Was the son of Urza, most likely later on next week. Now, onto the video. Where I left off was when Bakugo caused that big, when Deku and Bakugo was fighting. Bakugo would cause so many explosions, but Izuku would just use the shadows to create claws and shields to protect him. And Bakugo then saying, you're becoming a nuisance, Deku. I think it's about time I use these gauntlets. Izuku would then piece the things together and saying, no, you can't do that. There's a bomb in here, even if it is pretend. You'll kill someone. Bakugo then saying, I know, you, but you won't die if you dodge. And All Might would then yell at Bakugo saying, don't do it, Bakugo, you'll kill him. Bakugo then saying, like I said, he won't die if he dodges. And pulls the pin, causing the big explosion. And everyone would be afraid that he actually killed Izuku. And when the dust cleared, Izuku was nowhere to be found. Like, he was gone. Everyone would be sad and in fear of Bakugo. But Bakugo would be just like, it looks like you can't handle that much explosion, worthless weakling. I'm always gonna be better than you. With Izuku, but then hearing someone say, that's not very hero-like, Kachan. And then Bakugo would turn around seeing him come up in the shadows, and everyone would be in sigh of relief and surprised that he did that. And then him saying, you really are more of a villain. That's why I've always hated you. You think you're superior to everyone when you don't even know them. And then causing a shadow claw to swipe at Bakugo, and sending him outside. He would then use He would then cause a barrage of attacks with his left hand, multiple shadow balls firing like a machine gun. Dark Void attacks on his right, acting like a shotgun. And with his legs, he created multiple shadow claws for close range slashes. Basically, it's a all-out barrage by Izuku and Bakugo just trying to dodge it. Eventually, Bakugo would run out of stamina, just enough for him to get hit by a Dark Void attack, putting him to sleep. Izuku then just turns around and walks away, but Bakugo being Bakugo, he would instantly get up and yell, why, you useless Deku? You think you can just turn your back on me? Izuku who hearing this and goes back saying, you really are a nuisance. Guess it's time to use one of my two big attacks. With Izuku doing the pose for Black Hole Eclipse, because if he's in adrenaline, he can just do the Z moves instantly, but if he's wanting to do it himself, he has to do the poses. And as he jumped up, a black hole would appear, sucking Bakugo up and exploding, knocking him out, and making sure Bakugo wouldn't interfere with him. Izuku would tie him up with some shadows and put the catcher tape around his mouth to keep him quiet if he did wake up. Which I honestly think is kind of funny, and I wish it actually happened in canon, but you can't have everything. But anyway, He would then contact Uraraka, saying, "Hey, where's the bomb? And where are you?" Uraraka saying, "I'm on the top floor, or by the way, the bomb. I found the bomb, and he does actually kind of acting goofy looking, with her trying to hold back the laughter. Izuku then using the shadows to get to her location instantly. And as Izuku pointed out at Ida, Izuku would see him and saying, "Ha ha! Those villains will never ever find me. And the villain and us villains will win this battle." Uraka extremely trying not to laugh, with Izuku just putting his hand on her mouth saying, "Shh, I got an idea," and then whispering into her ear about a plan. Uraka then walking out of where she was saying, "Found you, villain," with Ida saying, "Ha ha, you foolish hero. You must be pretty confident in your abilities. Well, I made it sure that you're pretty much powerless. Because I made it sure this whole place is spotless. You can't use your quirk in here." and Uraraka just charged at him while trying to touch him. Ina just constantly dodging, and she would just relentlessly try to use her quirk on him. At least that's what he thinks. But then All Might would say, "The hero team wins." Ina being confused and looking at the bomb, seeing Izuku, who halfway out of the shadow, who and touching the bomb. And when they went back, Bucko was rushed to Recovery Girl. And All Might asking who was the MVP. Mama would say it was Deku. I'm just trying to rush through this thing. And a week would go by, and Aizawa would, I'd say, "Alright, class, we're gonna be on a field trip to a place called the USJ." And during the week, Izuku was training on his darkrai form. And after another 3 days, they would get onto the bus and talk about the quirks with Suyu, who's saying, "Hey Izuku, what's your quirk? You seem to be it seems to be a shadow manipulation quirk, but what's with that big black hole you used?" Everyone getting intrigued by this, would lean in, with Izuku saying, "My quirk allows me to shape, manifest, has turned into and create shadows. I can even turn it into black holes, but I can choose who my opponent what gets sucked in and what doesn't. Basically, it's not like a black hole, it's more like a vacuum." And they all would be intrigued by this, with Kaminari asking, "But what was that form you took during the physical exam and these villains versus heroes training?" Izuku would just reply with, "My quirk can also allow me to make the shadows go around me. They turn me into the shadows. I just add my own touches to it. And it's still incomplete, though." They all would be all by this. And then the bus would stop and meet with 13. Uraka being a fangirl over her. And then while inside, a purple mist comes out of nowhere. And multiple villains comes out, and then a man covered in hands and a rare buff bird creature there would come out as well. With Kirishima saying, "Wow, they even have fake villains here? That's awesome!" Aizawa then turning and seeing the villains with the purple missing, "We are the League of Villains, and we are here to kill All Might." Aizawa putting on his goggles and telling 13 to protect the kids, but before he jumped down, Izuku stopped him. I'm asking, "Why are you stopping me?" With Izuku replying, "Allow me. I've been training on something, and that affects a big group of people, and I wanted to try it out." With Aizawa saying, "You shouldn't. You should let the pros handle this." Izuku then just saying, "Don't worry, I got this." And basically turning into his darkrai form and floating upwards. And basically he does the same thing like what Darkrai did in the movie, creating a dark void attack, which just disperses it into multiple dark void attacks. And basically knock out half of the villains. With Shigaraki, he's scratching his neck saying, "That's cheating! Nomu, kill the brat!" And the Nomu would shriek, and jumping up to Izuku, punching him downwards. Luckily, he created shadows to soften the blow, but he was still hurt minorly. And then the Nomu would just keep on hitting him, grabbing his arm, and basically tossing him in the air and pulling him back down, slamming him to the ground again, and eventually punches him into a wall. And Tsuyu and Meta had got out of the shipwreck zone somehow. I'm not gonna be putting any detail into that because I'm lazy. And they would see what's happening to Izuku. And then Shigaraki would be saying, "You can't, you were too confident, and now you die. Nomu, kill the brat." And Nomu about to slam his fist into Izuku's head, but out of nowhere, some sort of glowing ball all hits the Nomu, sending him backwards. Everyone looking to where it came from, seeing a weird moon like creature or floating in the air. And Cresselia, and this would be Cresselia, obviously. And she would go to Izuku using Healing Bell on him. And like out of the amount of pain he was being beaten up, he was out of his Darkrai form. And Cresselia would heal him up with Heal Bell, and then use Helping Hand to make him stronger. Izuku would then turn to Cresselia, smiling with his teeth for the first time. Like every time he smiled in the past, he used his lips, like his mouth was closed. But he would sorry about that. And he would gives Cresselia a thumbs up, saying, "Thanks, Cresselia. I owe you one." Then turning back to the Nomu, who charged, running at him. And Izuku would turn into a complete full-on Darkrai form. Like, he looks like Darkrai 100%. From the hair all the way to the torso. And he had pretty much And as the Nomu tries to punch him, his fist would just go right through him. Izuku then uses shadows to wrap around the Nomu and tossing him up in the air and slamming back down. And like every time the Nomu tried to hit Izuku, his punch would just go through. And Izuku then realizing the brain was exposed would create a shadow claw around his hand and basically stab it into the Nomu's brain, killing it. And the regeneration couldn't help it, since destroying the brain cuts off the regeneration. With Shigaraki, he's scratching his neck extremely violently and saying, how'd you kill the Nomu? He was supposed to kill All Might. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. With his hand charging at Izuku, trying to decay him, with Izuku just creating a Dark Void attack and shooting it at Shigaraki, with Kirigiri getting him out of there, or after Shigaraki fell asleep. And when he went back to his normal self, he was pretty much passed out due to the amount of energy he used. And once All Might and the other teachers got there, they would kid Izuku into the infirmary at UA, because knowing that he was just knocked out due to exhaustion. And Cresselia was there, and all of when excluding Todoroki and Bakugo, because Bakugo doesn't like Izuku and Todoroki just not caring. But Kirishima, no, not Kirishima, Ojiro, who would ask what was with the weird moon creature. Izuku would be a bit mad, but then was letting it go because they didn't know her. Izuku would then say, well, this is a friend and I encountered while training when I was younger. I trained during midnight and ran into her. And he was basically trying to dodge the fact that she's a Pokemon of the moon. Everyone would then just accept his answer and go back to normal. Eventually, Aizawa then saying, alright class, you have 2 weeks off to train for the upcoming sports festival. Everyone being excited about this, excluding Izuku. Basically, if I say everyone excited, Izuku isn't basically cheering. He doesn't show it. But anyway, the 2 weeks would go by, and Izuku would be 93% incomplete eating his darkrai form. And basically, after the 2 weeks, they would go to the sports festival. They would come out with everyone cheering for them, and everyone else being jealous because they're not getting that much praise or fame. And Midnight came out saying, alright, can I have the UA, the 1A representative come up and give a speech? And Izuku would go up, take the mic and say, hello everyone. I am super proud to see so many people here today. And I'm even more proud that you all are trying to do your best to become heroes. Some of you may do it for fame, some of you may do it for money, but I can tell deep down you're wanting to do something else. And so I support you. I'm looking for a friendly fight out there, with everyone giving it 100% of their abilities. Because we all must go beyond. Plus, Ultra! and everyone would be cheering. And one B, he would actually like Hikazuku because his speech was inspiring, but Monoma, being Monoma, would actually just despise him because he's in 1A and he's not. And then the obstacle race would come, and everyone would get in the hall. Izuku then transforming in his bottom parts into shadow, into his darkrai form, because he knew Todoroki was gonna freeze the place. And once once President Mike said go, Todoroki did freeze the hall, freezing everyone, excluding Bakugo, Momo, Mina, and Izuku. And Todoroki would be thinking, I'm in first place, I need to keep it. But then and he would be constantly making ice. But Izuku would just keep on running. Eventually Todoroki would see him beside him, wondering, how is he not being frozen? And basically Izuku would then get ahead, eventually coming onto the 0 pointers, and he would use Black Hole Eclipse on them, and destroying 3 of them at the same time. And if I remember correctly, there were some 1 pointers, 2 pointers, and 3 pointers. There's near the ground as well, in the anime. He grabbed a metal rod from one of the robots that he destroyed. And basically continuously run. And eventually coming up to the canyon, Izuku would turn into his darkrai form and fly over the canyon, giving him a further head start. And Izuku would then get to the minefield, and he would float over to the center and jab the rod into the ground, and it would be in a place where no mines were. And he flew over to the other side, transformed back, and waited. And Baku and Todoroki would come up first, seeing Izuku just standing there, and then seeing the rod. And while they were trying to dodge, when they got to the rod, Izuku would then say, I gotcha, and basically manipulate a shadow to detonate half of the mines in the minefield, stunning Todoroki and Bakugo. And Izuku would get first place. And Bakugo and Todoroki, he would get 5th and 6th place. And then the cavalry battle would start, and no one wanted him to be with Izuku. Izuku would go up to Midnight asking, hey, can I be by myself? No one else wants to be with me. Is it? Midnight didn't say, of course. And when the cavalry battle started, he basically just turned into his darkrai form and went on, and basically just became a shadow. Like, everything, including the headband, was a shadow. No one could grab it, no one could take it unless they themselves had a shadow quirk. So they all just gave up and went after other headbands. And eventually, he had to, when there were 10 minutes left, Izuku would come out. I was wanting to give them at least a small chance, and everyone would rush him. Izuku just creating shadows to block, and trip, and using karate and taekwondo to dodge them. And basically, the cavalry battle ended. And then the 1v1 and it comes up. And Izuku would still go up against Shinzo. Oh, and when it started, Shinzo would basically just start out thing of how Izuku had such a great quirk. Hurricane that he's in 1A, and mocking everyone 1A. Izuku, when not caring, would just walk towards Shinzo, and then Shinzo would just say, "And I bet your mother must be terrified of you. Everyone seems to be afraid of you. I bet she was so disappointed when she had you." Izuku then stopping and getting really, really angry, yelling, "My mom's the only one who knows me. How about you frickin' keep your mouth shut?" And then Shinzo just saying, "Gotcha." But it wouldn't affect Darkrai because, well, I'm gonna say hate to Darkrai. Shinzo, my controlling quirk is basically a psychic type move, and psychic types have no effect on dark types. And basically, and the amount of rage Izuku was in, he would surround his arm in a shadow, creating a shadow claw, rush at Shinzo and slash his stomach, and then kicking it, and sending him flying into the wall. Well, Izuku then just saying, "How about you train in your quirk and body instead of complaining about it? Your quirk can be used for so much more. But you are neglected about that and so small-minded." And basically just walk away. Shinzo would take his words to heart, understanding that Izuku was right. He was just complaining about his quirk instead of doing something about it. And then Izuku versus Todoroki would come up. And basically, when Todoroki started using his ice, Izuku would then realize that he was starting to get some frostbite. Izuku then yelling, "You need to use your fire, Todoroki." Todoroki then saying, "I'm not using his quirk. I'll never use his quirk." Izuku then realizing and yelling, "It's not Endeavor's quirk, it's yours. Does Endeavor control your fire? No, you control it. So how about you stop being a baby and use 100% of your power?" Todoroki then firing up and using both ice and fire at the same time. And after the scene cleared, Izuku was untouched. Todoroki then wondering how. Izuku then saying, "Pro tip, don't use fire and ice together. They counteract each other." And basically just run up to Todoroki and punch him in the gut, sending him not too far out of ring. And then Izuku versus Bakugo would come up. Bakugo extremely angry that he somehow gotten a quirk or hid it from him. Basic Bakugo stuff. Hold on, guys, I need to get a drink. Okay, sorry about that. My throat was getting exhausted. And basically, Izuku who would fight Bakugo who yelling, "I can't believe someone unlike you got into your way. And you're supposed to be quirkless, you useless deku." With Izuku just saying, "I don't care what you think of me. You may think I hid my quirk or somehow got it, but that's only in your mind. You think you're completely right when you're wrong. I have been through thick and thin in my life. And I ain't letting a chance for people to see me and feel happy and safe, instead of seeing me eating, crying in fear. Is Baku just wondering, what is he talking about? I haven't seen anyone cry in fear of him. With Izuku just saying, you shouldn't think too much about it. My past is my past. I live with it. So how about you shut it? And let's fight. With Baku and using explosions to propel himself forward. And Izuku would pretty much do the same thing like he did on the last year of middle school, pinning him down with his arm behind his back, unable to use his quirk, with Baku wondering, how was my quirk activating? Izuku just saying, the last time this happened, I used my shadows to manipulate the effects of your body to make sure you couldn't use your quirk. Because with me, the shadow is practically a part of the body. Then Baku, realizing that had used his quirk before and he was blind about it. And Izuku would be declared the winner because Baku was pinned down. With President Mike saying, and we have a winner! The only person in UA history to win all three trials, Izuku Midoriya! And basically, All Might would give him the gold medal. Well, and basically same stuff was happening in canon. And when it was time to choose hero names, everyone else would be the same. And Izuku would choose the shadow hero Darkrai. With everyone saying it was cool. Well, and it could definitely help, and it would definitely improve, and it would definitely be good for him. Because he is pretty much a shadow. Like a living shadow to them. Mysterious, yet always he's visible. And eventually, they choose who's pretty much the same internships as in canon, and with Izuku going into Gran Torino, like in canon, and wanted to meet him because he wanted to know more about All Might. And basically, the same stuff would happen. But Gran Torino doesn't tell Izuku to stay there. He would tell him he had permission to use his quirk. And he then sensed someone in danger. Using his shadow radar, he went directly to the place. Seeing Ida with a sword head in his back by the hero killer Stain. And before Stain shot off Ida's neck, Izuku just used his shadow and caught the sword and basically take Stain away from him, with Stain saying, ugh, you're the one who went to the sports festival. Huh. Saving someone, excluding the rest of yourself. You're a true hero. But these two must die because they are false heroes. And basically, Deku would turn into his darkrai form, and he's about 1% away from mastering it. The only thing different about it is his eyes, because his eyes still look the same in all the others. I forgot to mention that. His eyes would still be humanous. And basically, Izuku would draw out two shadow swords because I'm gonna give him the because he taught himself to use the shadows to create weapons other than just claws. And basically getting into a duel with Stain. With Stain trying to cut him, but since Izuku is basically like a shadow in the form, it doesn't really affect him. You can't draw blood from a shadow. Eventually, Izuku would overwhelm the hero who killer and basically tie him up, saying, "You could have done so much more and helped others as being a hero." Sure, I admit there are those who just use it to become a hero for fame and money. But your quirk and everything else could have benefited the public, showing people what a true hero can be, becoming a real hero. But you went down the wrong path by accident. I'm sure after you get out of jail, you may be able to start anew. With Stain looking up at him saying, "You really think that can happen?" With Zuko saying, "I know that can happen." And Ida and Native would be knocked out, and Zuko then saying, "How about I tell you a secret? I'm not really of this world. I came from a world where I was basically born from fear. But after dying and being brought to this world, I took a chance for people to feel safe and happy while seeing me, instead of trembling and crying in fear. We both have past that are dark. But you can make a choice to run towards the light, instead of staying in and letting the shadows develop your heart and mind." And Stan would shed a tear for this, saying, "You really are a true hero. What's your hero name?" Zuko then saying, "The shadow hero, Darkrai." Stan just saying, "Well, Darkrai, you really are a true hero. A truer hero than All Might. And I never thought that would be possible." And nod his head at Zuko, and he would nod back. And Zuko would be carrying Ida and Native while having the hero killer tied up in ropes. And everyone, and basically, if Zuko wasn't the one who would get grabbed, it would be Ida from the Flying Nomu. And Stain would do the same thing, but break out of the ropes and saying, I'll keep what you said in mind, Darkrai." And basically just run away, with Endeavor yelling, "Catch him!" With Azuka just saying, "I can't. I use too much energy. You will try to fight him. He's a lot tougher than he looks, you know. A lot to handle for just a high schooler." And Endeavor would think is lying because he's not sweating or anything. And basically, he instead of Endeavor getting the credit, Izuku would, because the police officer knew Gran Torino gave him permission to use his quirk. And Stain would actually become more of a vigilante than a villain, and later on. Because he knew he couldn't go to becoming a hero, so he became a vigilante, helping the public. And Basically, everything else would be in canon, and everyone would praise Izuku for taking out the hero killer. And after a week of that going by, Izuku would go up to Uraka asking, hey, Uraka? Uraka would turn and sing, huh? What is it, Izuku? Izuku would just say, he, he while tapping his fingers together and looking back at her and away from her, asking, sometime tomorrow can you and I hang out? While blushing a bit. With Ochako, who also blushing a bit, but saying, sure, I would love to. Uh, that's tomorrow, after school, is it gonna be saying, yeah, let's do so. And basically, they went on and actually announced that they actually had feelings for each other, but haven't become boyfriend and girlfriend. They did say they were somewhat of a couple to 1A. Everyone with the guys being jealous, so would the girls. And Mineta just being, well, Mineta, with Zuko just knocking him out. And eventually, the hero training camp would start. And pretty much the same thing would happen. And like in canon. But Koda wouldn't try to hit Zuko in his balls. Wait. Koda, let me re-say that. Koda didn't try to hit Izuku in his balls. Because he saw Izuku and knew he took down on the hero killer. And the hero killer, let's say he had some sort of Instagram and pronounced that darkrai captured him and changed his mind about what to actually do in the world. And like out of this, Muscular was captured and sentenced to death. Koda seeing Izuku and wanting to be friends with him because he made someone to capture the person who killed his parents. So he was still kind of cold to everyone else, but to Izuku, he was pretty much like a brother, like a younger brother. Then, and when the night came, Izuku would then see the blue flames and inform everyone. And like Izuku didn't have to go and run to get Koda because Muscular was captured, like I said. And then he went in and saw a Dark Shadow going out of control. With Dark Shadow trying to attack Izuku and the Duple Arms guy. Izuku then had Dark Shadow to Moonfish and same thing did happen. But Izuku would just manipulate Dark Shadow to become smaller and calm him down. And Bakugo did get captured, but it wasn't just as Bakugo. Todoroki was captured along with Izuku. When they were released, they were strapped in, and with Shigara, with Toko actually staring at Izuku, curious about what kind of blood he shed, because she actually did say that to him. Well, asked him. Then Shigaraki saying, "Hello, you three. You three could be of great help to us. Bakugo, you really could become a great villain. Todoroki, we can help you with your father. And Izuku, one who captured Stain. And he would say this as Izuku was scratching his neck because he still hates him, but All For One said that he could benefit him, and even if he didn't join, he would steal his quirk. So it was basically a win-win for them, as they thought in either way. And when Shigaraki asked, "Would you all like to join the League of Villains?" Bakugo would yell, "I ain't joining some low-life thugs." Todoroki then saying, "No, I ain't becoming a villain." And Izuku would say, "I'm not going back down the path of darkness like it did before. It's a definite N.O. for me." Then, in the screen, then the small TV would turn on and it would say, "You sure about that? You should rethink your choice, Izuku Midoriya." And then a gray portal would open up and reveal All For One with the mask and suit on. And I'm gonna say the rescue was happening much before, and they were about to come in. But Izuku would just go out of its chains by turning into a shadow and basically kick All For One through the wall. Kirigiri would get everyone else out, but Izuku would break Todoroki's and Bakugo's chains, and getting them out of there. When he went to fight All For One, he was basically he said, "You sure you want to fight me, darkrai? Well, I have someone who could definitely beat you." And basically, he snapped his fingers and created a giant portal. Well, a giant portal appeared, and out came Giratina, the Pokemon of the underworld. Just so you know, Izuku would be in shock and fear because even Darkrai fears the pretty much god of the distortion world. And basically out of nowhere, a giant light would be behind Izuku with Arceus there. With him saying, not Giratina. Yeah, actually, Giratina. Your sins are growing exponentially. You will face my judgment. And basically, Arceus and Giratina would get into a fight with everyone watching this and couldn't even move. While Izuku fought at All For One. And eventually, he would also bring up. While All For One was about to lose, he snapped his fingers, creating a portal, bringing Cresselia in chains with a collar around her neck, and he pulled a remote out of his pocket, saying, "One move and I can kill her." Izuku would freeze and basically get beat up by All For One. All Might was about to step in, but Izuku, who put up his hand and stopped him, saying, "No, don't interfere. I ain't allowing darkness to prevail in this world. I ain't allowing darkness to envelop me. I am Darkrai, not the hero of shadows. I am Darkrai, the darkness Pokemon of the Pokemon world reincarnate," and basically turn into Darkrai completely. And instead of blue eyes, he isn't white hair. He had red eyes and black hair. Pretty much the only thing that wasn't black was the jaw part and his eyes. And basically, he gotten faster, and much more relentless, well, as in this form, snatching the remote from All For One's hand and breaking it. Then breaking the collar around Cresselia. Sorry, had a hiccup. Then, and, and he picked up Cresselia and put her to All For One, not All For One, All Might. Can't talk. Yeah, hold on. Sorry about that. Had to get a drink. But anyway, Darkrai would basically slash at one so many times that he started to bleed. Like he couldn't regenerate from it. And All For One eventually he tried using a laser quirk he obtained, but Izuku just phased through it. And basically, out of sheer rage, he created a giant black hole eclipse, threw it at All For One instead of allowing it to suck him up. And then used Eternal Nightmare, her surrounding the black hole. And then after that, a explosion happened. Darkrai then created the biggest Dark Void attack you could ever see and launched it at All For One. And giving him a nightmare that's basically worse than death because All For One can't die. And he put it on an eternal loop, making him suffer for all eternity. Dark, I know. But anyway, they would pretty much strap up All For One down and send him to Tartarus. And when Izuku who went into Giratina an Arceus fight, he got in the middle and launched a Dark Void attack that was pretty much 2 times the size that he did for All For One, surrounding Giratina and putting him into an eternal slumber, not getting him a nightmare, and sending him back to the distortion world. Then Arceus left, and Izuku just flew over her to Cresselia, trying to make sure that she was okay. Because since they became friends, he actually does this concern for her. And basically, Cresselia was rushed to the hospital, making sure that she was okay because she was pretty beaten up. It looked like she was burned, electrocuted, and cut. Try guessing who did that. But anyway, pretty much, Izuku just kept all school all together and waited by Cresselia's side and eventually they all went to see him because they were concerned for him. They would go to Cresselia, and they would see the sad look on his face. Uraraka would go over and hug him. Izuku would just put his hand on her arm as he closed his eyes, and Aizawa asked, "What did you mean by Darkrai?" The Pokemon world. We need an explanation. And who exactly is this? For real. Izuku would then just explain everything that's happened and who he really was back then, and explained who Cresselia was. And they were all kind of shocked and surprised by this, because they knew he was telling the truth. Not one single word he spoke was a lie. Bakugo then realizing, "Oh Jesus, I've been and picking on a creature of fear the whole time. And after and then he could tell, they were all afraid, and then Bazooka just told him what he was doing now, and they all lightened up, understanding everything, knowing that he didn't want to do any harm to them. And basically, years would go by, and the relationship between Izuku and Uraraka would continue on, and eventually got into the boy. And the dorms did get installed, allowing more time between Uraraka and Izuku. And after Cresselia got out, he wanted to take her back to the dorms. Aizawa and Nezu did approve of this, so he came back to the dorms and met everyone. They were all happy that she was okay. And when Izuku, who went to see her, he basically just jumped onto her and hugged her while shedding tears of joy, showing the very first time he cried in years. And somehow Cresselia did learn to turn into a human. And basically, she looked like the girl from Avatar: The Last Airbender, or from the Northern Water Tribe, who gave her life force for the Moon Spirit. I can't exactly explain the whole thing. I can't remember her name either. But anyway, they all hanged out. Eventually, Cresselia went back, and years would go by. Everyone would graduate, with Izuku becoming the #1 hero, and Uraraka becoming the #2 hero. Eventually, after a few years, Izuku would propose to Uraraka, and they would get married. And eventually, Uraraka got pregnant. I ain't doing, and something like that. And had twins. One would have blue eye. I didn't have a shadow manipulation quirk. And it was a boy. The other would be a girl who had white hair. And basically had the same quirk as her mother. They would both be extremely proud of this, and eventually he would get older and also become heroes themselves. And so that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. Everyone lived happily ever after. And this is the final part of What If Deku Was Darkrai. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And please, if you think I can do better with my videos, please comment down below. And say you want videos that show more than just one picture. I'll do that and make it into some of my time. But if it make you guys more happy to my videos, I'll try my best. Okay, thank you guys for watching, and please like and subscribe to my channel, all to help me off even better. Thank you. Bye.